Hi there, this is Datila, and welcome to It's Wrestling Time Post Show. And for tonight, I will be reviewing Impact Wrestling. Alright, so tonight's show kicked off with Tenille Dashwood versus Rosemary. And I wasn't, I'm just not a big fan of the influence. And so I really don't, how can I say this? I'm just not a big fan of the influence, honestly. This was an okay match. Madison, of course, she kept getting involved multiple times. The first time she tried to distract Rosemary, it failed. The second time she caused this distraction, it allowed Tenille to hit Rosemary with the neck breaker. And the third time, she took a cheap shot to Rosemary while the ref was checking on Tenille Dashwood. Of course, typical heel behavior on Madison's part. Rosemary manages to win after Rosemary shoves Tenille into Madison, which knocks Madison ring down. And then, of course, at the end, there's a post-match beatdown between Madison and Tenille. And then Taya Valkyrie comes out to save Rosemary. And Rosemary and Taya together take out the influence. And then there's they're kind of just like staring at each other. And I think that's the biggest talking point of this whole match and segment. Like I said, I really just don't like the influence. I was really happy that Taya came out and helped Rosemary. And so who knows if they'll rekindle their friendship, so to speak. But this segment certainly seemed to be hinting at it. So I'm curious to see what happens with Rosemary and Taya going forward. Then we got a Good Brothers segment. Oh my God, this segment was so hilarious. Okay, so like last week, the Good Brothers were basically poking fun at the Briscoes because of their farm. And so today they showed up to the Briscoes farm in Sandy Fork. Oh my God. It was so hilarious. Like you had Anderson, like I think they entered like the chicken coop, and like you had Gallows like trying to catch the chicken, and like he grabbed it and it escaped from him. And they're like, if this is a chicken farm, where are the chickens? They only saw like one chicken. And then like Anderson, I think it was like at a horse stable, Anderson was like, oh, this smells like a Tamatonga match, and he's all like this. And it's just so hilarious that like this whole segment was hilarious. Like they were trying to talk to like a little boy who was on the farm, and they're like, oh, who's here? And they're talking to him like he really understands what they're saying. And at one point, they're confronted by Papa Briscoe, who tells the Good Brothers, that you need to get off this farm. The Briscoe brothers then arrive and attack the Good Brothers. And like Gallows threw a chair at a tree, which was hilarious. Jay Briscoe ended up getting stuck on a tree, and they were beating him up. Then Papa Briscoe stepped up, and he had like a wrench in his hand, and said they came to the wrong farm. And it was just like such a hilarious segment. I feel like this had the potential to be really cringe, but it wasn't. Props to the Good Brothers and for making this funny. Like seriously, props to them. They've done some pretty cringy stuff in the past, mind you. They have. But like this was hilarious. I really honestly this was great. Honestly, just seeing Doc Gallows trying to catch that chicken. Oh my God, I was dying. Honestly, I was. Oh my God. All right, so then we get a Heath segment, who basically says Rhino is hurt, injured, and requires surgery, and it's heartbreaking because he loves a man and he could be out for months. Now, I'm not sure if this injury is kayfabe or if it's legit. I haven't heard anything in terms of Rhino being injured, so I'm assuming it's kayfabe. Then we had Steve Maclin versus PCO. Wow, okay, like this match was freaking incredible. Like, PCO is not human. He is not human. Like, okay, so, like, Maclin tried to take PCO down, but he was unable to. At least at the beginning, he wasn't. So there was this one segment where Maclin was, like, on the outside of the ropes, and PCO dived into Maclin in between those ropes, knocking him to the outside. But while doing that, PCO landed face first onto the ground, and so he started bleeding from the mouth, and it just looked really, really like bad, but not as bad as what was to come. So then like Maclin took PCO, and he did the same thing. He dived into PCO, then he hit the spine buster on the ramp. So then at one point, Maclin sends PCO into the ring post shoulder first. And it was just like, Maclin was just dead set on hurting PCO. Again, an incredible match, but the moment that did it for me, oh my God. Okay, so there was this one spot. Well, actually, there was two spots. There's one that led up to it. Okay. So PCO, of course, does the animator to Maclin on the ring apron. He attempts a cannonball to Maclin while he's near the steel steps, but Maclin moves and PCO goes crashing into the steel steps. Maclin catches him in the crosshairs and PCO into the barricade. Then what he does is he grabs PCO, he puts him in between the steel steps, he puts his arm, and then he yells, "You're not human, PCO." Ooh. Oh my God. Like, he like goes, he crushes PCO's arm in those steps, and then like you see PCO, like his showed his collarbone was popping out, and he had the blood all over his face, mind you, because he got busted open earlier in the match. It just looked really, really bad and really, really nasty. Oh my God, I had to like close my eyes for this match. And like, but PCO was refusing like medical attention. He was refusing to quit the match. And then like Maclin hit him with the steel chair and a DDT then on the steel chair, and Maclin ended up winning the match. So it was a great, intense, hard-hitting match. But damn, like, again, PCO is not human, because at the end of that match, PCO stood tall while Maclin was like walking away. He looked like surprised to see PCO standing tall, blood gushing all over his face, and him holding on. Oh, it just looks so bad. It's like, oh my God. But that was probably like the most shocking part of the match, because like even PCO didn't get that messed up in his rivalry with Jonah. Like, oh my God, like just crazy. You need to see that spot to know what I'm talking about. All right. So then we get a backstage segment with Deonna Tasha and Tasha Steelz. Basically, Deonna's like, I think on her phone, and Tasha goes up to her and is like that they had a mutual agreement that they would end the problem with Mia Yim before it begins, and questions Deonna's actions last week. Deonna is quick to correct her and says that they had agreed they had a mutual enemy, Mia Yim, but she never agreed to get involved or take anyone out. And she says that Tasha has something that she wants, and she points to the title, and that she doesn't need her help to take out Mia Yim. So Tasha Steelz kind of laughs at this and says, "Oh, you don't need help? We'll see about that." And then Chelsea Green shows up, and she says that it was stupid of Tasha to think that Deonna would need help, but then she tells Deonna it doesn't hurt to have a little bit of help. So it seems like there might be an alliance brewing between Chelsea Green and Deonna Purrazzo. Then we get a Matt Morgan segment who says, so they introduce him as the new mayor of Longwood, Florida. He says that it meant everything to him, that being an Impact was his first real opportunity to let his hair down, so to speak, and that he became the blueprint of TNA, and he recalls his battles against Ric Flair and Kurt Angle, and he is proud of the work that the men and women have been doing in Impact. He's very proud. He's glad to see them doing their work till this very day. And then Vincent Carr appears and calls Matt Morgan an old toy to dust off a ghost of Impact's past. And he said Honor No More is going to end it off once and for all at a Slammiversary. And then Matt Morgan says he doesn't like Honor No More chances at Slammiversary. So another blast from TNA's past, or Impact's past, I should say. And it's just crazy. Like, I'm curious to see who's going to appear next. I know this is a long shot, but with the fact that Impact let WWE borrow Mickie James, I just wonder if by chance that means WWE will let Impact borrow AJ Styles. I mean, with the odds of that happening are slim to none, but it would be really cool if that was the agreement, but it doesn't seem probable. So I guess we have to wait and see who the TNA Originals pick as their partners. Okay, so then we get Josh Alexander versus Joe Dorian. So this match, I knew this match was going to be like a lot of back and forth. Like, Josh had Dorian in a headlock, And he managed to put him in the ankle lock too. Of course, Deonna had to get involved and trip Josh. And then to my surprise, Joe Doering did a crossbody to him. So like Joe Doering can do crossbodies. So very good for a big man like him. So then, like, at one point, Josh kicks Joe Doering in the face, and, like, Joe Doering goes down after he gets a boot to the face. So at one point, Josh picks up Dorian. He hits him with 2 German suplexes. He tries to throw one, but Dorian elbows him. Then Deonna introduces the flag, and Josh hits Dorian with his, so this causes a DQ, meaning Joe Doering wins by DQ. Alright, so this match ends in a DQ. And basically, I'm happy with the match in a DQ because it protects both men. As commentary has reiterated, Joe Doering has yet to be pinned. So by this match ending in a DQ, he doesn't get pinned, and neither does Josh Alexander. So again, it protected both of them. Josh Alexander loses without getting pinned, and Joe Doering wins without pinning Josh Alexander. So we get a Moose segment who basically says that he's not too worried about Sami's mind games and that he's played mind games before. And says that Sami doesn't stand a chance against him and that he will find Sami and put an end to all of this. All right. So then we get an Ace Austin segment who basically says, what would you expect from me? And it basically shows a recap of how he joined Bullet Club. And then Alex Zane shows up and asks, what the F is going on? And he shoves Ace. And then Ace tells him, you don't get involved in Bullet Club business without consequences. To which Jay White says that he likes that phrase. And then we find out that Alex Zane is the final man in the Ultimate X match. Then we get a Sami, Callihan, and Moose brawl. They're like at some type of like warehouse or something, or like somewhere in the back. Kind of reminds me of the movie Saw, the first one. But after Moose beats up Sami Callihan, who gets busted open, like Moose tries to escape, but the doors are locked, and then Sami like dangles the keys in front of him, and he gouges Moose's eyes, and he leaves Moose locked on the inside. And as we come to find out, it's gonna be Moose versus Sami Callihan in a Monsters Ball match at Slammiversary, and I cannot wait. That should be an epic match. Oh, I cannot wait, honestly. All right, so then afterwards we get a Matt Cardona segment who basically says Rich Swann is walking around claiming to be digital media champion. So then he questions why Rich Swann doesn't have the title. All right, so what happened was Rich Swann defeated Matt Cardona at Wrestling Revolver's Las Vegas show for the digital media title. But Matt Cardona ended up running away with the title. So then Matt Cardona then says that Rich Swann claims to be digital media champion, but he doesn't recognize Rich Swann as a digital media champion, that nobody does. And he says, but he does recognize that he is injured, and he wants somebody else to carry the lineage of the title. Matt Cardona then hands the title over to Brian Mayers and proclaims him to be the new digital media champion. Mayers says that Matt has been his best friend of 20 years. He's an icon in all of social media. And that Rich Swann doesn't even have a Twitter account. So they're going to settle this once and for all at Slammiversary. And, Brian Mayers is right. I mean, Matt Cardona is an icon on social media. I mean, he was internet champion many years ago, and he did kind of start the whole social media thing in wrestling. So, curious to see how this ends. And then in the main event, we have Honor No More in the form of Eddie Edwards, Mike Bennett, and Matt Taven versus the Motor City Machine Guns and Frankie Kazarian. So this is a great match. Like, I'm really, really happy with the outcome of this match. But there was one time where it was a 3-on-1 attack on Edwards because the ref was checking on OGK. There was some miscommunication again between Bennett, and so he accidentally hit Edwards. Honor No More prevented a tag to Sabin or Kazarian by pulling them down. Eddie Edwards gave them to the eye to Alex Shelley. And so I really like the tornado DDT that Sabin did to Eddie Edwards, which Matt Taven broke up using Alex Shelley. Like, he threw Alex Shelley into Chris Sabin to break up the pin. And then there was a clothesline to Mike Bennett by Chris Sabin. Then Mike Bennett gave Chris Sabin a low blow while the ref was checking on Taven, allowing Eddie Edwards to hit the Die Hard driver to Sabin, allowing Honor No More to be victorious. So I'm really happy, actually, Honor No More was victorious. I really do think that they need to start winning some gold, you know. So they should honestly be the ones challenging for the tag titles, but you know, it's understandable. They did lose the last week. Because, and actually, it wasn't last week. It was like 2 weeks ago because there was a miscommunication. So, but I think, in my opinion, I think it's time Honor No More kind of like moves past the whole us versus Impact, you know, start winning some gold. So I'm curious to see where they eventually go. So at the end, Heath comes on with the steel chair, but Honor No More beats him down. If you guys recall earlier in the night, Heath was very upset because of what Honor No More did to Rhino. And Heath starts stamping on Taven. He throws the steel chair to Eddie Edwards and then hits him with a wake-up call. And then Kenny King and Vincent also come out, and they try to stop Heath from doing to Edwards what they did to Rhino, which was basically putting the steel chair on the ankle. And then Bennett hit Heath with the steel chair. Eddie Edwards does Heath what they did to Rhino. So they basically put his foot inside the steel chair, and then they hit him with the steel chair 3 times. And basically, Honor No More is like left standing tall. And that concludes today's episode. Honestly, a really good episode. The road to Slammiversary is looking phenomenal. And I'm really, really excited. I mean, this wasn't even the go-home show, and I'm still stuck to see Slammiversary. So I cannot wait to see what goes on for this week. I honestly, except for the knockouts match at the beginning that I kind of dislike, just because I'm not a fan of the influence, I'm going to give this actually, I was going to give it a 9.5 because I didn't like the match. But Rosemary won. So if the influence would have won, I would have given it a 9.5. But I'm just going to go ahead and give this a Ty Dillinger, a perfect 10. So really great show, top to bottom. That PCO match, oh my God, to me, like, that was a must-see match. That and the farm segment, like, oh my God, like, PCO is not human. But with that being said, thank you guys all so much for watching, for your continuous support. And please don't forget to like and subscribe. Make sure you hit that bell so you get notified whenever I go live or release a new video. And I'll see you guys tomorrow after Friday Night SmackDown and AEW Rampage. Bye.